say something, but I understand where Sony's coming from on this. So don't, I'm not doing it to be mean, I'm not doing it to be like, you know, a jerk or something. It's just the way it is. Gentlemen in the back, by tech people, are we good? On video and on video, are we good? Something else with Sony that I'm talking about later on, you'll see, I promise you. But I just want to tell you right up front, just because what Sony said, don't say anything. We'll meet you somewhere. What? You said something. Yeah. Well, no, but there's other things with Sony we're going to talk about. So, are we good? Are we like? Oh no, I just want to make sure. Yeah.
While we were busy with that, Udon, actually this was interesting. Udon had the work done a long time ago, but it was stuck in what you would call the supply chain effects of the pandemic. And so finally, after taking a long time from being printed overseas, back into the United States. So for those of you who saw the original Macross printing of the Robotech archives, covering just the Macross saga, and for those of you who used to collect Robotech Art 1 back then, each one of the generational books by themselves is as big as Robotech Art 1 was back then. And so that gives you an idea of the volume of work that goes into it. And we don't just have just the pre-production designs that were published before. We actually went into everything that went into the style guides for the books. And so they are actually, as far as I know for Macross, because that was printed a lot, it's very, very complete. But for Southern Cross and Mosquito, which fans used to complain didn't get as much love as all the Macross material, those are now the most complete collections of art ever published, whether in the US or in Japan. And they even contain behind the scenes of how the early art evolved into the final art. So it's all in here. I highly recommend these. These are from Udon. They are selling, through all the major book retailers such as Amazon. So, these are in plentiful supply now.
Yeah, and folks, as Tommy said, all 3 books are now available. They are shipping, and they got through the supply chain, so you can order all 3. The Macross Saga, the Southern Cross, and the New Generation art books are shipping right now from Udon. Folks, with these books out now, a lot of people have asked us about, what about apparel? Well, folks, we have a new merchandising license, a new apparel license from Atsuko. And they've started a line of Robotech t-shirts. Here's a look at some of the artwork. Close up. And folks, Atsuko also has a new line of Robotech hoodies. And our friends at Udon have joined us as well with their line of Robotech t-shirts. And you can order these right now at the Udon store, right now. And folks, we also have some really awesome, important news regarding, we were asking about this before, regarding tabletop games. Namely, our friends at Strange Machine Games have created a new board game called Robotech Reconstruction. This game takes place in the aftermath of the Great Battle of Dulce's Armada. And here is a look at some of the interior artwork. Also, here's a look at the gameplay itself. And Robotech Reconstruction will be arriving later this year, depending on which ship gets unloaded at Long Beach. Strange Machine Games also has its line of Robotech role-playing games. Right now, the Macross Saga is shipping. And ladies and gentlemen, here is a look at the amazing interior artwork. But our friends at SMG have a new role-playing game they want to share with you. And here is the look at it.
We encountered the Zentradi an alien threat of unspeakable power. They threatened our very existence and attacked us with the full force of their might. The Earth was nearly destroyed and left as a wasteland. But we survived and rebuilt. We knew the alien threat was coming, so we prepared. We built weapons and mecha of vast power. And when the Masters came, we fought back and won, but paid a terrible cost. The Invid found Earth and swarmed with fury. They overwhelmed our forces and plunged the Earth into darkness and chaos. But heroes rose from the ashes to end the threat. Robotech Homefront includes all important figures, mecha, equipment, and ships from both the Masters and New Generation sagas. The potential to tell more Robotech stories is vast. New mecha, equipment, careers, skills, and ships are available for your world. Hero up.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Robotech Homefront. Robotech Homefront is a supplement to the Macross saga and covers the Robotech Masters and New Generation eras of the franchise. It goes into a deep dive for both the Robotech Masters and New Generation, and it'll be arriving this year in 2022. And you are all asking about Robotech video games. Robotech is now on the Nintendo Switch. And here is a look at the gameplay. The Macross Saga HD Edition is now available on the Nintendo Switch for a retail price of $9.99. You can order it right now from Nintendo. And folks, we also have the new line of 1/6 scale statues from our friends at Kids Logic, starting with the Dana Sterling statue. Also, Kids Logic has a new VF1J statue. Would you like to see it? Yeah. Here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. We also have a line of 1/12 scale cockpit dioramas, starting with the VF1J. And this is followed by the new VF-1S cockpit. And this cockpit comes with its very own Roy Fokker statue. You can order this right now from kidslogic.toys. Oh, and speaking of toys, our friends at Met Toys have a new villain toy line starting with the Invid Scout, followed by the Invid Shock Trooper. These will be arriving in late 2022. You can order these from mettoys.com. And our friends at Kids Concept have their line of new action figures, starting with the Rick Hunter and the 2 Minmay variants, followed by the Lisa Hayes and Roy Fokker. And just late last year, Kids Concept announced the new Rick Hunter variant in his original flight suit. And folks, the uniform is made of actual cloth. Yeah, it's really good. You're gonna like these new figures. And speaking of action figures, a lot of your fans have been asking, remember those old Robotech action figures like the G.I. Joe size? Will they ever come back? Well, ladies and gentlemen, our friends at Toynami have launched a line of 4¼ inch action figures. Wave 1 is now available downstairs at Toynami booth number 837, along with Wave 2. You can buy these right now at the Toynami booth. And if you head over to booth 837, you can get a convention-exclusive box set of these action figures. Last we checked, Toynami still has a few available. So head on down to booth 837, tell them that both myself and Tommy sent you. George can't wait to sell you these. These are really awesome. It comes in its own unique box set. You can only get these at conventions. You can't order these online or in any other store. And folks, we also have transforming toys from Toynami, starting with our 1/100 scale VF1s in their retro Macross packaging, starting with the VF1J and the VF1S. Also, with the VF1J variants in red and blue. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the rarely seen VF1A. And all of these transforming toys are available at the Toynami booth downstairs in the dealer hall. And folks, our friends at Kids Concept also have their line of transforming VF1s, starting with the Skull Leader. These are 1/72 scale, have high die-cast metal content, and have LED lighting. Kids Concept is following this up with the VF1J, and it's fully transformable in 1/72 scale. And they've announced the heavy armor. You can get these right now at kidsconceptright.com. We also have a new licensing that's coming soon. Tommy, talk about 3-0. What's up with that?
Oh yes, 3-0 is a highly regarded toy maker. Their stuff is actually so high-end that it's like statues for folks who really want to show off what a fan they are. And they've been making these super premium edition Optimus Prime and Transformers figures that you can see, and Ultraman as well. And they want to do their take on Robotech, where they would take basically toys that you've seen and add, just an incredible level of detail, just looking at every single model sheet out there and putting it into the most detailed. And also, they don't just make statues. Many of their toys are actually articulated, so they're still toys, but toys that you would put on high-end display.
Speaking of detail, a lot of fans have asked us, what about Robotech in high definition? And Tommy, you went deep into the Harmony Gold vaults to answer this question.
Oh yeah, that's right. So this was interesting. We had gone through this process decades ago. So here's like a quick trip into the Harmony Gold building during the middle of the pandemic. And going into a secure location. And this is basically our vault where we have materials going back decades. Like that's a U-matic, which was used for the original VHS release. That was a master from back then. PALs used for later releases, Betacam tapes. And then here we have the original film archive. So this is the original film reels that came to us from Tatsunoko. And so we had to get these, and we actually sent it to a place that does it right. We sent it to Technicolor to have it digitized all over again at a resolution higher than HD, you know, to future-proof ourselves a little bit. And so there you go. That is the reel right there. That is what was broadcast in Japan. What's interesting was of them. This is like good reference of how much effort went into restoring. Oh yeah, that's a digital hard drive, which is where it all ends up on at this point. And, you know, once the internet gets fast enough, you know, we're just throwing this all up on the cloud. And the Macross reels were actually the most, they got the most use out of all of them. So they did require more work in terms of, you know, scratch removal and restoration. But this is interesting. When it did come out on Blu-ray, there were some people who were just astounded. They could see so much detail. They could read jokes from the animators where they would write 4-letter words into license plates. But the flip side was people were like, this is so noisy and grainy, what's going on here? And so this was a really interesting back and forth during the restoration process. Do we do it heavy-handed or do we do it with a light touch with the restoration? And we actually made a conscious decision to do it with a light touch because there's some examples, like for example, when Snow White was re-released, it was so post-processed where the green was gone, it almost looked like flash animation. And this also happened to early releases of The Predator, Rez. James Cameron, when he re-released Aliens, he was the complete flip opposite. He was like, no, you're gonna keep the green in. And so for this Blu-ray release, this is what we decided to do. We decided, even though when it was shown on standard definition television back in the 80s, the green went away because the resolution was too low, we decided to preserve it as is, you know, for audiences to see. This is what it looked like in the Japanese studios back then.
You want to see some footage of it? Yeah. All right. Here it is.
Year 1999. High above Macross Island, a phenomenal event occurred in the skies which altered the course of human history and defined a generation. Robotech. The iconic mecha saga finally returns, now digitally remastered. Own the entire series on Blu-ray and experience it in high definition, featuring all 85 episodes. And stream the entire remastered series on Funimation. The official home of Robotech. Coming to a screen near you.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh? Yeah! Ladies and gentlemen, you can buy this right now in Robotech in 1080 on Blu-ray. If you buy it from Funimation, the entire box set, it comes with a Veritech fighter and exclusive Roy Fokker action figure. And we also are pleased to announce that Robotech is now streaming on Funimation. All 85 episodes are streaming on Funimation, and the Robotech sequels, Sentinels and Shadow Chronicles, are streaming as well. But folks, people are saying, Kevin, hold on a second. Wait. We gotta talk about this partnership with Sony for a minute, because there's been some news going on with Funimation with like Crunchyroll, and what the heck is gonna happen with Robotech with all of this stuff? I mean, how is this all gonna work? Well, folks, let's set the stage and we'll explain to you how this is all going to work. Sony purchased anime streaming site Crunchyroll for $1.2 billion in the fall of 2021. Yes. Then, on March 1st, 2022, Sony announced that it's phasing out the Funimation brand. And eventually, all Funimation content will be under the Crunchyroll banner. So you're thinking, what does this mean for Harmony Gold? How is this all going to work? Well, folks, to make it as simple as we can, the partnership with Sony and Funimation for Robotech will continue under the Crunchyroll brand. All there is for us is just a name change. The unique partnership allows both Harmony Gold and Crunchyroll to create, approve, and license new animated Robotech merchandise. The unique partnership will allow both companies to manage and develop the franchise worldwide, excluding Japan, for new and existing audiences. And more of the Funimation Crunchyroll unification, as they call it, will be happening, will be revealed over the next 18 months. So as you can see, folks, Robotech is happening. We're doing great. We've got an excellent partnership with Funimation, with Crunchyroll now. And so, folks, we want to open up to what you have to say. We want to hear what you have to say. So please, raise your hands. We want to hear what you have to say. Dan, you have the first question. Go ahead.
It's good you remastered the Game Boy Advance, the classic Game Boy Advance Robotech game. You did a good job with that. However, I do believe the most popular Robotech game of all time was the Robotech Battle Cry game for PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. What's the possibility of getting that most popular Robotech game remastered? Because that had voice actors returning. Yeah, it's just a great story too. Introduce new characters. Yeah, what's the possibility of getting that game remastered?
All right, so that's been brought up. For the reason why the Game Boy Advance game was low-hanging fruit in terms of being ported was that it actually really, I guess you could say it was ported, but it was actually just re-engineered by the original developer. As an example, the original sprites, even though they look like little dots that you would see on Command and Conquer, they were actually 3D modeled back then. And so they decided to redo the 3D models and produce it to work in 720p, which was the resolution of the Switch. And so they actually had the original programming team come together and build that. Now with Battlecry, that's a little bit trickier. This is the Vicious Cycle company doesn't exist anymore, so they would have to figure out how to get that re-engineered to either A, work on one of the new Sony systems, or B, figure out how, at least confirm that the emulation to make it work would be feasible. But in that case, if they were just gonna emulate and run the original game from back then, they would at least have to get Take-Two, who owns the rights to that game from back then, involved, because that is the game that was, they released the game for the PlayStation 2 back then.
How many of you would like to see a remastered version of Battlecry? Yeah! All right, cool. Awesome, very cool. Who has another question? Yes, over here.
I love all the new product based off of the original Robotech and Macross animation, and with Sony's vast development abilities in doing live action, has there ever been any possibility of doing a Robotech live action movie, considering all the amazing new CGI we can do, like with Transformers and stuff? It just seems like a natural.
That's such a great idea. I wonder why we didn't think of that. Yeah. No.
Well, it's Sony,
Yeah.
It's like, come on,
Yeah.
Sony, you part owner in it. So.
Yeah. No, it is definitely something that they're developing, they're working on. One thing that's just happened to the whole live action film industry is that COVID did push everything back a couple of years. Yeah, it slowed everything down, but this is something that they're definitely still very interested in making. And so, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Max, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, by the way, Max, can you stand up? If you would like to. This gentleman here, we found out at Wondercon, of all places, that he is the gentleman responsible for using the Invid prop in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. If you remember that.
It was the Vulcan phaser.
Yes.
Basically, the prop master came to me, because I've worked on all the different Star Trek shows, from Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise, and other movies and such. I was even an extra, background actor during season 4 and 5 of Next Gen, and I was in Star Trek 6. Anyways, prop master came, he said, we need to make a Vulcan phaser. The designers didn't have any time to do anything, because they're busy doing other stuff. Literally, you're working on like 2 or 3 episodes all at one time. Anyways, and so he said, I trust you guys. What can you make for me? Because I need it like in 3 or 4 days. So I got all these toys sitting on my workspace, and I saw the Invid Trooper and go, if I take the shoulder cannon from that and the leg from that, so I sacrificed my own toy, and I took the 2 pieces, put it together, a little bondo and body shaping, added a few little extra details, and that's how you got the Vulcan phaser made out of an Ender Trooper toy. Unfortunately, now it's my fault that they're hard to find.
You know, now it's part of folklore. I think that's actually awesome. And you know, we actually recorded a short off-the-cuff interview. We're going to put that on our social media later. So thank you so much, Max.
Oh, and just to prove to everybody that I've been a Robotech fan since the beginning, this is a picture of me in 1985 from my own Rick Hunter costume that I made.
Thank you, Max. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Okay, who has another question? Yes, over here.
So my question is, companies sometimes like to push certain messages about like inclusion and such to try to get a new audience. Has Sony been pressuring you on that, or are they leaving you to your own devices?
So, Sony just wants us to have Robotech to the widest audience possible. I've always felt, and Tommy does, and everyone at Harmony Gold always says, our door's open to anybody. If you're a Robotech fan, you're always welcome. We don't care where you come from or who you are. If you're curious about Robotech, we've actually had people just come in and say, I just sat down because I was tired and I wanted to just go. I'm serious, this has actually happened. People actually just come in, the convention was just so hot. I came into your panel, I sat down, I'm a fan now. You're welcome. Even if you are, yes, a Macross purist, you are welcome in our panels. We want you here. Folks, our door is open to anyone. We don't care. If you're interested in Robotech, come on in. We have one of the most welcoming fandoms around. We welcome you all. And we just leave it to our own devices. So, excellent question, my friend. Thank you. Yes, right here.
Okay, so Robotech's going to be streaming on Crunchyroll, correct? What about the stuff that was in the box set? Are they going to be streaming too, like the commercials, the toys, I don't know, a documentary or two?
Okay, so just to cover that, Crunchyroll did announce that the entire Funimation library was falling under their purview, and it's basically the two companies are just being merged together, and they're just deciding for consistency's sake, they're just going to have it under the Crunchyroll umbrella. Now that said, Funimation has its own streaming infrastructure, and Crunchyroll has their own, so they do have a lot of work to do. It's going to take them many months, maybe a year or so, to get all the content moved from one to the other or one new single platform. And so, don't expect it to happen right away, but at some point, yes, the streaming will all fall under one umbrella and you'll see it all together. Now, in terms of the extras, we'll see how that happens. I do see one thing that's very clear for this decision by Sony in doing this, which is that, Funimation's been around a long time, why merge this like this? And really the reason is, this is for the future of the audience. Now we got a new generation of kids, and when we show them this little round silver thing, they go, what is that? Is that a coaster? And I go, no, when your parents were young, we used to stick this in a box to watch our, anime. It's a low bandwidth storage device, kind of like what a book is,
God forbid you did introduce them to a VHS.
Yeah. For those, so this was good about trying to reach us out, especially you asking us about the licensing. So if you do want to reach out to us, we do have a Robotech fan booth today till the end of the day at Wondercon. It's at FC03. Toynami, if you want to get the toys, it's at 837. Jamie Sullivan, one of our most talented artists. He also does G.I. Joe illustrations. If you want to see the gentleman, the man, doing the best Robotech illustrations, on toy packaging, he is here at C12. And Crunchyroll, if you're interested in, licensing opportunities, if you're thinking, hey, I'd love to do this, we think that there hasn't been enough Robotech product in this category, they will be at Licensing Expo in May, next month. So, those of you who just happen to be in Las Vegas at the Licensing Expo, that is going to be the central place, to meet them about new licensing.
Okay, yes, right there in the center.
So, following up on the
video game question.
Mhm.
So Take-Two owns the rights to Battlecry. Is there anyone that owns, do they also own the rights to any new ideas around Masters or New Generation? Or are those games available?
Okay, so Harmony Gold owns the IP. So the characters like Jack Archer that were created in there, those reverted back to Harmony Gold. What Vicious Cycle delivered for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox and GameCube, which now falls under Take-Two's purview, is the game code for the PlayStation 2. So or the Xbox. So if any of those games are emulated on a modern system, you know, like how Sony does some of their vintage re-releases, they're just basically emulating old games. If that were to happen, we would need to have Take-Two involved.
So anything new or novel?
So new, yes. So novels or a sequel, like if we said we're going to call this, you know, Battle Fly, you know, the sequel to Battle Cry, you know, and that would be a new IP that a new publisher developer could work on their own. Yes.
So that's not being pursued yet?
No, that is something that hasn't started today. No. So there are other projects, but that's not one of them. Though Battlecry is something that has initiated discussions of, you know, how do we make this work.
Okay, who has, okay, here.
I went to the Macross Plus Fathom event around the holidays. Any new Fathom events planned?
For Fathom events planned for.
Macross Plus. Is there any new Fathom events for Robotech in years?
Not through Fathom. So for Robotech, not through Fathom. The Fathom event for Macross Plus, as far as I know, that's just something that Big West handled on their own, and you know, I think Macross Plus is awesome, and so that's a separate part of licensing that they're doing on their own.
Dan?
All right, there's been a lot of newer Macross shows, you know, in recent years. There's been, through the decades, there's been new shows. And recently there's been, I know because Robotech has something to do with Macross, some part of it, but there's been more recent He-Man show. And there was a Voltron on streaming, so like Netflix. And I was wondering, have you guys watched those shows, like the new He-Man or new Voltron? Are you thinking about maybe possibly making a deal with somebody like Netflix to get something new started, a new animation?
Well, those rights are over at Sony. So this is something that these are all exciting projects that we're excited to work on with Sony. And, in terms of the other Macross spin-offs, I mean, Robotech's interest in Macross is centered around where Macross started the Robotech story. So the first part of the Robotech saga. So that's Robotech's connection with that. And everybody's seen all the history blogs about how Robotech came to be. So the other parts of Macross, I mean, that's basically as far as Robotech's concerned, that's a different universe. And so it has the same aesthetics. The original Japanese creators, they're very, very well done. Fans are welcome to enjoy that as well as Robotech both. We don't purport to tell fans what they can or cannot enjoy. It's up to you all to decide. And so that's why we're so grateful that you guys have all continued to follow Robotech over all these years.
All right. Yes, over here.
With going off of what you were saying with the reboots, do you think that crowd is a Robotech to do a reboot, or will you continue on from where it left off?
Oh, no, that's a great question. I mean, the live action movie, that project in development, that really is going to be the biggest reboot for Robotech. It's taking the original story and reimagining in the live action universe. In terms of Robotech, with new comic projects, we hope to continue more stories within the existing universes and the branch universes that we're creating with Titan.
Any other questions? Going once. Yes, over there.
Are there any plans to continue developing the Robotech Sentinel series by any chance? Or are there any other plans for any other projects in the future for any more animation?
I think for Sentinels, we'll use pieces of it, we'll use ideas from it, and we've already done that a lot. So we use characters from that in Shadow Chronicles. Some of the comics like here, they're kind of reimagining how things would have occurred differently if the first part of Robotech ended differently. And so Sentinels is being told differently. We also have role-playing games that previously, like publishers like Palladium did. It's just that one of the things that happened where Sentinels ran its product cycle, all the stories got published, and so the main reason why people used to run home to find out what happened next, that kind of ran its course. You know, everybody already knows how the Sentinel stories end. So if we do more Sentinels era projects, I think we're going to tell the story differently, you know, to continue to surprise the fans.
Okay, time for 2 more questions. So, who has not asked a question yet? Right here, right here.
Are there any plans to create an omnibus of the comics for Robotech?
Oh, you know, that is a really good idea. Oh yeah, what is this? It's an omnibus of all the Masters comics from, so this is another thing that Titan does, is they are taking all the Kamiko stuff that is a real pain in the butt to find on eBay, you know. And so to make your guys' lives easier, you can go onto Amazon, and they just call it the Robotech Archives. And
Can I buy that one off of you?
oh, right now? Do you want it?
Sure.
Here, come. Here you go. I mean, it's a specimen, but you know, at least now I don't have to flip it back home. Oh, Amazon. Yeah, so Titans, and as well as Titan Comics. If you like ebooks, you can get it on Comixology, and you can also get it directly from Titan's website. So yeah, all Robotech Archives. Yes, and so they've done all of the Macross Saga, and they're partway through Masters.
All right, final question. Is Uzan doing any more reference books now?
Yeah. So we thought we lost a lot of Robotech Sentinels production materials, and so we just thought that they were all gone. But then when we found out that there was a Site B that was, you know, not on digital records, it was on handwritten records, and we found a box of materials for the production of Sentinels that dated back to the 80s, and we were like, wow, this would be cool. So, you know, if you look at the Robotech Art 3, it's really threadbare on how much pre-production work it actually contains, but I think now we have enough material where we could do something like this with Udon. So yeah, that's definitely something we
question, how many of you want to buy a reference book of for Robotech Sentinels like the Macross Saga and New Generation? Okay, cool. Awesome. Well folks, thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your support, and we will see you all next year. You all have a good Wondercon, okay? Thank you.
Oh yeah, by the way, if you want to get this cool stuff, we're going to do a raffle at the Robotech booth at 3 o'clock. So FCO3.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.